Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Martina Trucco, and I'm joined by Sumit Sadana, Executive Vice President and Chief Business Officer at Micron. And the last time Sumit was here, he was walking us through why memory and storage are so critical during these uncertain times that we're living in, especially with everyone working remotely and with more demand being generated for video conferencing, for remote working, and distance learning. And so, Sumit, thanks for joining us again. I'd love to dig into a little bit more about what this really means for the industry and for memory and storage technology.
Yeah, thank you, Martina. Yes, I mean, certainly the world has changed around us with COVID, and we are seeing changes in our customers' buying patterns because of that. Of course, it's still very early. A lot more is yet to come, but certainly early days, the positive impact on demand, the growth in requirements for DRAM and SSDs from our customers in the data center has been a very clear trend. And of course, some of the corporate laptops sales have also gone up as people work from home. And on the flip side, of course, we've had impacts to automobile sales, smartphone sales. So those are things that are in the counterbalance. And of course, longer term, we do expect that significant changes will occur in the demand landscape because of COVID.
Well, and certainly this has been a pandemic that is impacting really the entire world economy. But one of the first places that we really saw the impact was obviously in China. And certainly, this is an important aspect for us to look at, because as China now starts to come back online, in terms of as they're moving past the initial phases of the pandemic, would love to hear your thoughts on what are we actually starting to see starting to come back, because in some places we potentially had thought that there would have been a much larger pause in some areas such as 5G development and deployment and things like that, and that may or may not be the case as they're starting to come back online here.
Yeah, I mean, the experience of China is being closely watched by the world because other countries are obviously lagging that timeline, and it provides a little bit of a map as to what to expect as the economies around the world start to consider opening up as the infection rates get under control. So in China, we have seen, for example, the purchasing patterns of consumers, especially on things like smartphones, rebound from the January and February very low levels and start to get closer to normalized levels. Not quite there yet, but getting closer. And certainly that's an encouraging sign on the smartphone side. Of course, the consumer spends on a lot of different things, not just smartphones, and other aspects of buying behavior that relate to social distancing, spending in retail, still remain impacted. Travel, entertainment, all of those things, restaurants, visits, those still remain impacted. Fortunately, the portions of the economy that relate to semiconductor demand seem to be doing better, including government desire to continue to push 5G as important competitive advantage for China. So they are continuing with the investments in 5G, and the expectations for the number of handsets that are sold in China that are 5G enabled is only minimally down from pre-COVID time, maybe a difference of 10% from original expectations. But there is still an expectation that between 150 and 175, 180 million, maybe as much as 200 million handsets around the world could be sold that are 5G enabled. There are some other countries like Korea which are continuing to press on with 5G. Certainly in the US, 5G investments continue. And so I think as we think about 2021, it should end up being a pretty good year, certainly on the mobile side.
Well, and I think it's really interesting to note that even beyond sort of the situation that we're in today, where really the new business as usual has really shifted for so many of us, as we're starting to see that technologies that we thought would take much longer to be adopted in terms of remote collaboration, certainly video conferencing, distance learning, and technologies like 5G are huge enablers for that. I'd love to talk a little bit about how do you see those things also changing the demand landscape in general and driving the demand for increased memory and storage?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is no doubt that COVID has done for certain aspects of technology what would have taken a long time for adoption. That time has shrunk dramatically. If you see just Zoom video conferencing, how fast it has taken off. But also there are other important differences in the works. For example, now there is a lot of focus on last mile delivery for e-commerce, and how to make that happen when the demand for e-commerce is soaring across many different retail options. And as companies try to figure out how to manage that last mile of delivery, which is so challenging and often a bottleneck, and to do that safely in this environment, a lot of companies are looking at accelerating their adoption of, for example, drone technology to make deliveries. And so that is just one example. Another example could be the acceleration of AR and VR technologies in order to provide people the type of experience that they cannot get today because they're not able to travel. So to be able to put an individual in a certain place and have them see, and get the look and feel of being in that place through very real rendering on AR and VR technologies has been getting accelerated because of this. And there are lots of other similar examples. Certainly the adoption of the cloud, certainly the acceleration of the online gaming trend, online media and entertainment has been accelerating because people can't leave homes that easily and need to find ways to entertain themselves at home. So a lot of these trends that would have taken shape over years have been shrunk and accelerated. And the foundation of a lot of these is technology, and DRAM and NAND and SSDs are critical components of these. And as users start to leverage their mobile phones more to experience a lot of this, even the consumer device side of things will accelerate, especially with 5G.
Well, and I think it's interesting as we talk about this sort of new normal that's starting to emerge, or as we're starting to look ahead at how sort of business and life is going to be potentially very different. I can imagine that you are also seeing changes today in terms of how we even interact with our customers and how we do business with them. And so I'd love to talk a little bit more about how things have changed and how you're all adapting to that.
No doubt. Certainly, we have had to adapt just like all the other companies, including our customers in the ecosystem. And obviously, safety has been a huge priority for Micron. So we were one of the first companies to stop travel in order to safeguard the safety of our team members. And that has sort of forced us to continue to meet with customers through online forums like Zoom meetings and so on. And that has certainly showed us a way to be very productive in our customer engagements, and even, I should say, be able to have more frequent customer engagements because it's an online forum to do it. It takes a click of a button and set up a meeting and have discussions with customers. Previously, we had to set up travel, ensure calendars syncing up as people think about making time for that travel. And now, instead of spending huge amounts of time in the plane and all for a 1 or 2 hour meeting, it's so much more productive to be able to make things work in this fashion. And this has enabled us to actually increase the level of interaction we have with customers. And I think this will have some lasting changes that we will consider making, as well as I'm sure our customers will welcome, in terms of continuing to use video conferencing as a tool to increase our interaction over time.
Well, it's pretty exciting to hear that there's some lasting benefits here that the team is starting to look at being able to take advantage of. And maybe just to wrap things up, you certainly, even though you're seeing some of the advantages and you hopefully will take advantage of them going forward, there must be something that you're looking forward to as we head back into whatever our new normal is as we come out of this crisis. And so, what are you most looking forward to as you get back to the office, Sumit?
Well, I really miss the interaction with the teams. It is always very energizing to be with people in a room, brainstorm on things, come up with interesting ideas, and see the sparkle in everyone's eyes when we come up with a plan that really comes together. And just the ability to connect with people that we so took for granted, just shaking hands with people, hugging people, going to have a meal with a customer or a friend in a restaurant. I really miss all of that, and can't wait to have things get better so we can start to get back to that. But of course, with a new appreciation for some of those things we took for granted.
I like that. Something to look forward to and something to be thankful for when it does become a part of our lives again.
Well said.
Sumit, thanks so much for joining us again. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Martina.